our first question was just, could you please explain your area of expertise when it comes to bird watching and wildlife photography and environmental writing?
So the question was like, what are the interests here? One was that I wound up doing this writing kind of because I just wanted to do something outside of English. And people laughed at me because I was a terrible procrastinator and I had a hard time getting my work done writing. They're like, wait, you're going to write something every week and write? I was like, yeah, I can do that. And I actually changed and I did. So even old people can learn new things, blah, blah, blah. So I really enjoy that though. So I enjoy um, putting things in terms that non-specialists can relate to, and just sharing my own kind of enthusiasm and sense of what's beautiful in the world with other people. Um, let's see. So writing and photography. What else?
And bird watching.
Oh, and birding is just, and we don't say bird watching, we say birding. Uh, the verb, there's a book called The Verb to Bird or something like that. Just because so much of it for people who really get into it is not watching at all. We walk around and go like, oh, black-throated green warbler, oh, warbling vireo, oh, and we don't look for them. We just know they're there. So it's a more immersive experience than just going around looking at things. Um, that's just something I grew up in suburban Cincinnati with a brother who's a year younger than me and a lot of no good friends, and we spent our days in the woods. And so it's like figuring out how to do that as an adult, birding is one of the things that gets you there. And it's one of those where, when people are passionate about something, they have a hard time understanding why everybody else isn't. Like, that's how birding has become for me. But it's like I'm always birding. I'm listening to what's outside my window now. When I drive, I'm birding. Anyway, social media has played a big role in that too. I hadn't thought of it that way, but being able to post pictures on Facebook is huge in that, because I love going out and seeing. And right now, this time of year, I mean, we're days away from the peak of spring migration. You're probably not as excited about this as I am, but look at me on Facebook, because I post bird pictures every day. And so, and what I enjoy about that is just helping other people to see. It's like there's cool shit around you all the time, and if you don't get out, you might as well at least see what I do. You asked at the beginning about like something about humans and nature, as though humans are one thing and nature is another. And I don't understand the world that way, right? That we're all just part of the same fabric. Um, and
Those are cool photos. They're amazing.
I am so proud of them. I love them. It's like I get so excited taking pictures of birds, just to be able to do that. And these are things that are out there today. Like if you just went out and used your eyeballs, you could see this on campus somewhere, and you could see that, and probably that. Anyway.
Like looking at Facebook photos versus actually going out and birding, do you think that there's a difference in the immersiveness of those?
Oh my, yes. Yeah. But, my goal is always to remind people that you don't have to go to, Central America to see cool looking birds. You don't have to go to Africa to see mammals. You don't have to, and you don't have to go to Yellowstone. You don't have to go to Starved Rock State Park. All you have to do is go outside and attend to your surroundings to really allow yourself to be there. One of the things that actually enabled me to do the bird photography the way I do is hunting. Taking pictures of birds relies on the same things that hunting deer does, which is, just really blending into where you are, so that you're just a part of, you're no longer separate from it. and all of your senses are involved. No, you think about hunting, and what things do you ever read any like 19th century American literature? Like, do you ever read Emerson and anything still? You remember the where he does the transparent eyeball thing, so that everybody laughs about? Sitting in a deer stand, I am a transparent eyeball. Like, I lose all sense of self. I am just, it's not just eyeball though, it's perception all around. It's hearing, it's feeling, it's, the movement of the tree that I'm sitting in. And same with uh photography, that the the close-ups of birds, you definitely need a telephoto lens to take those pictures, but in most cases, I'm within 10 feet of those birds when I take the pictures. And you can't chase birds, right? They fly away. Like, you can't run them down. You have to situate yourself somewhere and just be there, let them come to you. And and that means knowing, having a sense of where they're going to go next as they move. So
Our next question, you kind of answered it in your response just now, but we said, like, we guess that you need to make adjustments when you're amongst wildlife in an attempt to blend into your surroundings. So, how do you try to inhabit an increasingly non human environment to further assimilate into nature while birding?
I wear camo, uh, or green anyway. There's that basic thing, but then you move differently. You slow down. I mean, just I stand still much more than most people do, uh, and I spend more time actually on the ground than most people do, because that's often a way of being out of sight, or sitting next to a tree. So yeah, just not wearing things that alert wildlife to your presence, whether there's smells or sights, not making noise when you have to, and not looking at your phone or whatever else, and really just attending to what's around. But yeah, and slowing down.
That's definitely part of what we were anticipating, just the kind of like blending and slowing down and trying to adhere to nature more than we do in our everyday lives. Um, if you wouldn't mind if we move on to our next question.
Not at all.
In the piece, you wrote that crows recognize and remember masks worn by researchers who catch them, that the crow's dislike for people wearing those masks is communicated among adult birds. So we've discussed this quite a bit in our posthumanism class. Things like memory, positive and negative emotions, and communicative capacity are traditionally thought of as humanistic traits. How did this study impact your thinking, or obviously past this study, um, about crows and humans as a companion species?
Uh, it's funny when you think of it. It's like, why would you think that humans are unique? Like, we're made from the same materials, by the same forces, in the same settings. Like, why do you isn't it goofy to think that somehow we came out, like, our wiring is so completely different from everybody else's that we share the world with? I think, but from a scientific perspective, it's silly to think that the same processes working on the same materials created qualitatively different things.
And that kind of goes into our next question. So, our goal, like you were talking about, is to move away from like an anthropocentric perspective and separate or deconstruct those boundaries between the human and non human. So, could you please describe a specific moment while birding that you let go of humanity as a specialized category?
I mean, I guess I start without it as a specialized category, right? That uh, um, yeah, I don't I don't know how to let go, that I let go of it, because I don't think of uh, it as a different category.
I was gonna ask too, are you always like, since it's a passion of yours, are you always in a like birding type of mindset? Like when you go out and like do photography and stuff, do you further yourself into that mindset, or is it something you're always kind of thinking about, like your relation to birds and the environment?
No, my family would laugh right now because like yesterday, I was out. I knew there were some birds called bobolinks were on the South Farms. I had found them Monday evening, and the storm was coming in and there was no light. And I was like, I'm going to go back there Wednesday morning when I had time and be there at sunrise to get the light, as it hits them from and it all worked just the way it was. I parked where I knew I was going to park. I had the camera set up, I was 25 feet away from the fence that I wanted them to land on. And a half hour later, that's where they landed, because they were using that field. And, but so I got there before the sun came up yesterday morning. And then when the sun went down, I was at Crystal Lake Park in Urbana chasing a clay-colored sparrow that somebody had seen. I mean, I taught a class yesterday afternoon for 2 hours and did advising in between, but yeah, it's the other stuff that is in between right now. Yeah.
So just to taking everything that we've already asked you and your answers thus far, I think I can anticipate an answer to this question, but oftentimes in class we debated language as the means of differentiating humans from animals. Applying your understanding of the intricate communication that happens between crows, and then this being our research into the 2016 blog post, especially noting that knowledge is passed down between generations of crows, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Language is what separates humans from other species.
I mean, no, because we know that to be a fact that especially cetaceans have fairly sophisticated, sound communication. We know the crows are talking to each other. And again, we know that trees are talking to each other, through pheromones in the wind. So um, that a plant that's being attacked by gypsy moth, a tree caterpillars, releases pheromones that are then picked up by downwind trees so that they can start producing chemical defenses against that. Does the tree write a book about it? Probably not. But is that communication? That's all the communication trees need, or the fungal networks that connect the roots from one plant to another and tell them that it's like, I'm being chewed on, or hey, I need some extra carbohydrate to help me. Can you help me out through the season? And the big tree gives it to it sometimes, like, of course, other beings communicate. Is it in words? Yeah, but what are words? Words are only important to us because that's like, we only care because that's how we get the job done. They have a different sort of connection, but it's no less a connection than that. So, I don't. Again, that just stems from the idea that somehow we're specialer.
And I even think there's forms of communication, I don't even know how to describe it, but like between human and the non-human species, like your relationship or connection to the birds, I would definitely say there's even some type of communication happening between that when you're birding.
There are things that birds understand, like they understand intention. So, or at least have some, and I don't mean like, conscious processing the way we do, but it's photography for birds. Birds happily just, poking around in a tree, and as soon as you stop and focus on it, it's like they're gone. They don't. So there's that kind of interaction, I guess.